Hello folks, welcome to Legacy IAS. In today's video, we'll be looking into the society and economy part of your Pallavas. Alright, let's get into the video. Now, how was the Pallavan society? Right? See, Pallavan society was still on the largely 4 Varnas or Varna system. Again, what is the Varna system? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. One thing is, along with this Varna system, right, a lot of subcastes have started coming in, right. Along with the Varna system, a lot of subcastes, right, have started coming into the Varna itself, right. So, the caste system was also very prevalent in this period. Okay, we do observe instances of caste system in your Varna system and in your Pallavan society. Alright, look at this, the Brahmins, right, as usual in the list, the Brahmins get the higher priority, right. For example, the lands that they were given, right, they were usually of tax free in nature, right, they held higher position in the administration. Okay, now look at this, they received lands and villages which were usually, again I am telling usually, not all the time, right, they were of tax free nature. Alright, now see, I said there was also prevalence of caste system. How was it? It was largely rigid. Okay, now at this period of time, how was the society? Okay, and religion, relationship, that is, there were also presence of your Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Jainism, Buddhism, right, and etc. And people could worship what religion they wanted. Largely, the Pallavan kings were oriented towards your Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Okay, now people in the society, if people have to live together and happily, right, as a society or as a construct, you have to maintain a sense of tolerance, right. So we see religious tolerance is being present in here. Alright, next, Kanchipuram, their capital city, became a center of learning, center of trade, center of activity, a very important, okay, a very important city. Alright, next, Vaishnava and Shaiva literature flourished during this period. See, at the same point of time, okay, is your establishment of your Bhakti culture. Okay, a Vaishnava and Shaiva literature increased. Alright, look at this, Sanskrit was the chief language, right, your royals and scholars used Sanskrit. Then the inscriptions were given in both Tamil and Sanskrit. Alright, they also used different script, that is your Grantha script. Alright, your Shaivite saints such as Appar, Samandar, Sundarar and Manikyavaikar was also seen during this period of time. Now the Vaishnavite saint Andal, right, a female Vaishnavite, is also during this period of time. Okay, dances were being maintained in the temples, right. So temple pe dancing was also one of the key features that we observe here. Alright, next, how was the settlement of the society, right, who or which section of people settled where, right. Your Ur is where largely your activity that was focused in Ur was primary activity. Okay, when you say primary activity, it is more of production related activity, right. What do you mean by this production? It is your agricultural work, cattle rearing, right, allied activities of agriculture largely happened in this place, Ur, right. Your peasants, farmers, right, it was headed by a headman. What was his role? Tax collection. Again, as we have discussed, tax, okay, land is a very important source of tax. Okay, so village headman used to collect taxes. Alright, Sabha. Okay, now of all the committees, Sabha enjoyed a higher priority. Okay, Sabha enjoyed a higher priority as well as a higher autonomy. Okay, it is headed by Brahmins. They lived in places which was called as Agraharas and largely they were of tax free. Alright, now they were the ones who were looking after, right, for example, your temple accounts, right, village administration. Okay, Sabha held important place in the administration. Sometimes your king had to abide by the decisions taken by Sabha. Right, and also there would be times where king would appoint a person to overlook or to see the developments in the Sabha. Right, meaning it was more of official in nature. It had a lot of weightage to it. All right, next Nagaram or okay, next it's your Nagaram. This is where largely this was cities and towns. Okay, cities and towns were called as nagarams, and this is where your merchants and traders, okay, trade activity, okay, flourished here. All right. So you know there was a literary activity was produced largely in this period of time. See, this is a scene depicting where Arjuna receives, okay, Pashupatastra from Lord Shiva. All right. So this was also a period where we had good amount of literary activities with respect to Vaishnavism, Shaivism, okay, and a good number of hymns, songs, all in praise of the Lord during the Bhakti movement. Okay, so that phase is largely seen here, right? Next, how was the religion? As we have seen time and again, all the religions, right? People were free to practice their religion, whereas your heads or the Pallavan kings were largely leaning towards your Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Alright, and also we see a fact that it was largely a tolerant society. I'm telling you largely, I'm not telling completely. Alright, so what were there? Vaishnavism was there, Shaivism was there, Jainism was there. Okay, one other addition to the religion at this point of time, this is where your Bhakti movement started to flourish. Okay, Bhakti movement significantly changed the society as well as the population, or the way the relationship to the society or the people had with God changed with the introduction of Bhakti movement. Okay, it became more personalized in nature. Okay, one thing with respect to Bhakti movement is it started becoming a personal affair. Religion started becoming too personalized. Alright, they didn't have to be a middleman for a person to communicate with God. Alright. Next, temple building activities was taking on a large period. Again, as we have spoken about, Pallavas, okay, beginning of Dravida architecture or Dravida temple architecture. Okay. Next, we also see Shaivism and Vaishnavism, religious tolerance, large number of religious literary works. Right, this period of time we see it was a growing period, or impetus was provided to the religion by the society and vice versa. Alright. Next, how was the common people or the royals of that particular place? For example, see, how can you differentiate between a person who is well off and not so much well off? See, again, right now period of time case, you cannot use it, right? You cannot identify or judge a person based on looks by telling, yes, this person is well off, this person is not well off. Right, but at this point of time, okay, largely a well-off royals, kings and all wore and preferred silk garments, whereas the commoners, common people, right, they were more on wearing and preferring your cotton clothes. Again, preference is a strong word here, right? Preference will always be, people will want to prefer. Again, by people here, too largely, all these things is very subjective, right? Now, why do you think we constantly want to aim for things higher, bigger, right? Materialistic living is one of the aspects associated with it, right? Now, materialism is one thing associated, be it with your ancient history, medieval history, modern history, contemporary times, right? Materialistic is always associated with it, whether it's good or bad, pro or con, it's a debatable one, right? Now, I'm not telling entire society is like that, largely, okay, largely society has been materialistic. Right. So one thing is that we see here again, as I've told you, that your higher classes preferred and wore silk garments. The lower classes or a little bit of middle income group and low income group people would wear somewhere of your cotton garments. Now, with respect to your ornaments, right? They, irrespective of men, women, both wore ornaments, right? And it was largely seen. Now, if you look at sculptures, right? Now, sculptures would be sculptured in temples and all. These sculptures wore huge amount of ornaments, right, male or female. That gives us a sneak peek as to, okay, maybe the society also dressed like that, also wore ornaments like that. Alright. Now, the rich preferred silk garments, yes. Alright. Next, education. Very, very important thing for a society to flourish is the importance it gives to education. And Pallavas did give an important, okay, priority or spot for education. As we have spoken, one main thing is your religious places were also used as a center of learning activity. Alright, look at this. Your temples were used as educational centers. Buddhist places were also used as educational centers. Your Chinese traveler Huan Sing, Buddhist scholar Dharmapala, they all were, okay, students at Kanchi. Jaina Pallis were also, okay, used as educational institutions. Literature, grammar, astrology, medicine, paint. Alright. Next, Sanskrit was a medium of education preferred for, okay, your royals, okay, and higher caste society. Okay. Mutts also emerged as the important educational centers, right? Kings and nobles, right? Kings, nobles, queens, right? Your wealthy merchants, right? They all contributed for your temple activity and thus education. Alright, so education played an important role in the society. Next, how about the lands in the society? Like we know that land is one of the very important source of income, and also how was this lands treated as? The lands denoted to the temples were called as Devadan. Dan again are told as grant or gift. Devdan, the number of villages, okay, that is the number of decentralization increased. What does this point mean? Decentralization increased. Always effective functioning of decentralization is the only way. Effective way of decentralization is one of the important ways for you to have an effective system of administration. Right? So the number of villages or number of decentralization or the amount of decentralization increased, indicating number of villages increased during the Pallavan rule. Alright. The arid lands were reclaimed and cultivated, which means, okay, the government or the rulers actually put in efforts, okay, to make sure that the land was usable, reusable. The lands were both usable plus reusable, okay, which means they took adequate measures, okay, for land improvement, crop improvement, soil improvement, water improvement. Now, if you don't improve on any of these things, it is obvious that it is going to go, okay, unusable. Land will become fallow, okay. A good source of income would be lost, right? But whereas your Pallavas didn't do that mistake. Tanks were constructed on a larger scale so that the growth of agriculture is seen, and all these things meant what? The economy was flourishing well, alright. Next is with respect to your crafts. They had good amount of crafts with respect to weaving, stone cutting, pottery, carpentry, etc. Alright, your cotton clothes and your silk garments. Now silk garments, when we say Kanchipuram, back then and even today, Kanchipuram is a city or a zone of trade largely with respect to silk. Right? Back in medieval history or in the contemporary times, Kanchipuram still has that tag. Right? Both of these, cotton clothes as well as the silk clothes, was in huge demand in the other countries. Okay, this was also another major item of export. Alright. Next, how was the trade? Right? Look at this. It was an expanding economy. What do you mean by expanding economy? There was growth of trade and commerce. Alright. Now, both internal as well as external trade flourished. There were urban centers, or basically nothing but your cities flourished very well. Okay. Now, transportation. See, for now, if you have to have a good amount of trade, right? Good amount of trade activity, if you have to have, one most important thing is transportation. You have to provide. Transportation was made convenient and easy to serve as a purpose of seamless, effective trade. Alright. Next, Kanchipuram was another trading center, nothing but their capital city. This is where, okay, important activities with respect to administration, trade, society, okay, with respect to religion, all took place. Okay. The merchants had to obtain license in order to set up shops, and they had to pay taxes. Okay. Effective methods, okay, they are controlling, they are monitoring, okay, that is, no one haphazardly can set up anywhere. Right, they had to obtain a license, which means they had to open a shop, okay, and for that they had to pay regular amount of taxation, which means a good amount of bureaucratic control. What does this mean? Bureaucratic control was very good. Barter system was also seen at the same point of time. The gold, silver also was used as a medium of exchange, which means the economy was growing, was prospering. Alright. The merchants formed themselves into an organization called as Manigramam. Okay. How was the foreign trade? Look at this. Spices, cotton textiles, along with this will be your silk garments, precious stones, medicinal plants were all exported to countries such as Java, Sumatra, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, China, Burma, right? Largely Southeast Asia. Okay. Now there were important port cities also, right? The growth of port cities is very important for trade. Lands were measured. Okay. Each land was measured with a particular unit. Okay. Hala was a unit of land. Plow was also used to measure lands. One other thing was your commodities, right? Not just land, but also your commodities were measured. Okay. So your scale was on a top-notch level. When I say top-notch level, which means they made sure everything was quantified. The quality was also quantified. Alright. The paddy and rice were also measured. One other thing, right? PD, for example. See, for example, a fistful. Okay. A fistful was called as a PD. Now, this was the smallest unit. Right. Now, look at this. They had units to measure milk, ghee, oil, that is, right, your gold, silver, right, your precious metals, stones, everything was quantified, qualified, measured and then sold. How do we see the society? It was well organized, efficient. Okay. Now the society at large was happening. Okay. Now the society at large was having a good amount of bureaucratic control as well as a good amount of autonomy also. Okay. Now that's it for the content on your society and economy of your Pallavas. Now if you do like our content, do subscribe to our channel, share it along with your friends and hit the like button. Thank you.